We got an hour, but right now we got an NFL Hall of Famer on the line. Dan Hampton, Super Bowl champion with the legendary 1985 Chicago Bears. We know you're busy, Dan. Thank you so much for joining the program. How are you?
Hey, guys, doing great. Waiting with bated breath for the 49ers to show up and get this thing kicked off.
No doubt. Dan, I'm talking to my partner, and we're trying to dissect the Chicago Bears. We are talking about your old team that got it done, and you had so many great players and personalities. Let me ask you this, not to put you on the spot, Dan, but who's the best current Chicago Bear right now?
You mean with the existing?
Yes, sir. The current team. Yes.
Guys, it would have to be Roquan Smith. He was rated as one of the top 5 linebackers in football. I think he was a Pro Bowler last year, but we don't have a whole lot. But I tell you what, we got a bunch of guys that'll scratch, claw, and bite, and I think the 49ers are kind of expecting that. You know, a lot of times you have a team that doesn't have a whole lot of talent. Well, they have to do what they have to do, and it's going to be an old time fist fight, if you want to call it that.
Well, man, Dan, it's a pleasure to talk to you. You were a bad man on the football field, and we really enjoyed it, even if you weren't a Bears fan. I mean, you came there in '79 in the '79 draft. Jim Finks, one of the great personnel guys of all time, put that whole thing together, and you saw it come together. 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, and then finally, we get to 85, and you guys just exploded. At what point in that process from when you joined the Bears before 85 did you know we're building this thing into a monster?
Well, Ditka came in '82, and then they kind of caught fire on a Monday night game against the San Diego Chargers. We were, 15-point underdogs in Monday Night Football, our only appearance in like 3 years, and we beat the great Don Coryell and Dan Fouts' team, and it was kind of like one of those deals where we kind of look at each other and said, okay, why not us? Why not now? And the next year, we ran into your Mr. Montana in the championship game, but
yep,
that kind of only gave us the impetus to come back in '85 and do what we had to do. But you're exactly right. Jim Finks was incredible as a GM, and he was the guy that put that team together. When we played in the Super Bowl, we had 9 first-round draft picks that started. We had 5 number 2 draft picks that started, like Matt Suey and Mike Singletary. So it was a team built through the draft. And I got to tell you, your current 49er team, obviously everybody is wondering, okay, Trey Lance, is this going to work out? I know you got Jimmy Garoppolo waiting in the wings, but you've got a team that has been built very much the same way, and it's almost like a Super Bowl roster waiting to happen, and we're just hoping they're not really thinking about the Bears this week and kind of sneak up and surprise them.
You're listening to Steiny and Guru on 95.7 The Game. We're joined by Dan Hampton, NFL Hall of Famer and Super Bowl champion with the legendary 1985 Chicago Bears. Dan, I want to ask you a question because these two story franchises have met in the playoffs, and I remember the great Bill Walsh, we all do, rest in peace, going up against your team and Mike Ditka. Can you speak to the relationship between Ditka and Bill Walsh, because it was a rivalry that I don't think gets talked about enough?
Yeah, you're exactly right. There were great personalities back then. Bill Parcells and then later on Jimmy Johnson, was and Buddy Ryan when he was coaching in Philadelphia. The thing was, Mike Ditka. Yeah, every person has strengths, and then they have liabilities or weaknesses. And Mike Ditka was a master motivator and a talent evaluator, but he wasn't, the guy that could come up with the intricate offensive game plans like Bill Walsh could. And I think in an abstract way, Bill Walsh kind of made everybody feel inferior, and that only drove Ditka crazy, and he wanted to stick it up Bill's nose, And so at some point you know that the coaches have a rivalry. Well, guess what? That's why the guys on the field roll up their sleeves and say, hey, we're going to win for you, boss. And every time we played the 49ers, and they beat us more than we beat them. But, man, you guys had a great team. And, Bill was fantastic. But what he was able to do with first Joe Montana, and then, of course, in the subsequent years, George Seifert, he was able to have your other hot shot. I can't remember who that was.
Steve Young.
No, the quarterback. You got him from Tampa, Steve Young.
Yep, Steve Young. Yep.
Yeah, and you know what, Steve Young, he was a terrific player, but Joe Montana, he was one of those guys that you wanted a quarterback. He would make the plays that you had to have made. And, I think it was Lombardi says, hey, guys, every game it comes down to about 5 plays. And, whoever makes the play for their favor on those 5 instances during the course of a game, you're probably going to win 90% of the time. So, Joe was one of those guys that would just make the plays, keep the sticks moving, throw the touchdown pass. When you beat Dallas, I think it was 84. So, I mean, those were great days, and, you had to be at your best or you had no chance.
We're talking to the great Dan Hampton with us on 95.7 The Game. Okay, we can talk Niners-Bears, but I like to talk a little Bears. And Buddy and Ditka didn't see eye to eye. Practice had to be incredible. Guys getting cut and Buddy sounding off. And I heard, Ditka walked into your D-line room and Buddy was like, "What? Get the hell out of here." What was that dynamic like? When you guys won it all in the Superdome, you carried Buddy and Ditka off. I mean, 2 guys got carried off. But what was the dynamic like between Ditka and Buddy, and how did that fuel your guys' team?
And we got carried away. Here's what happened. We wrote a letter at the end of the 1981 season to George Halas, the grand old Papa Bear that, started the NFL. And we said, hey, you're going to change the coaches. Fine. But don't change the defense. We're on the verge of something, much like you were talking about 5 minutes ago, that we knew it was going to come together. Well, George Halas hired Buddy 2 weeks before he hired Ditka. So guess what? Buddy basically said, screw you. You didn't hire me. You're not my boss. And so that drove Ditka crazy. Could you imagine, Shanahan, having the defensive coordinator giving him the finger, it was crazy. And a lot of times in practice, it was harder than the games because, it would be like escalate the game tempo in a matter of 2 plays. And so those are the things that, it was the way it was, and that's the way, it went down. And it made us, really tough, and it made us very violent. But you know what? You can only, play at your best, so long. And those great teams that we had, we wore out by about 1988. But I tell you what, practice used to be more fun than the game. We'd be going at it.
I believe it.
Steiny and Guru right here on 95.7 The Game. We're joined by Dan Hampton, NFL Hall of Famer, and again, Super Bowl champ with the legendary 1985 Chicago Bears. Dan, we're having a ball, and when I found out we're having you on, this is kind of personal, but it's always kind of stuck with me, and maybe you could help me out and speak to it if you like. That day you guys won the Super Bowl, Mike Ditka elected to give the ball to the Fridge, who scored, and the late great Walter Payton didn't get in the end zone. Can you talk about the immediate aftermath? If that was odd to you or any of your other teammates in the meantime, like how did that play out? Because that's a regret I have, and I'm not even a Bear fan, that Walter didn't get the taste of the end zone on the Super Bowl.
Well, we all loved Walter. He was exemplary in all facets as a player, as a man, as a teammate. We didn't know that it really bothered him. And we'd never been to a Super Bowl, so we were just glad to be there. We were glad that we won, and it was a blowout. And we were almost like, second half, we were not partying, but we were having a great time, and it kind of got lost in the shuffle. And you know what, Ditka, to this day, he says it's his greatest regret of his coaching career. But you know what? I remember I went up to Walter in minicamp, 3 months after the Super Bowl, and I went up and said, "Hey, how you doing?" He goes, "Hey, I'm good." And I said, "Guess what? I didn't score a touchdown in the Super Bowl either. I'm still alive." Hey, don't make such a big deal out of it. I don't think that Walter wanted to kind of make it as big as the media made it, but it really did hurt him. Mm-hmm. All I know, the night before the game, he had Ditka had the captains get up and say something, and I was, the next to last, and I said, "Hey, all I know is the rest of my life, either I'll wear a Super Bowl ring that says champion, or the other guy's going to wear it, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let him wear it the rest of his, And then I sat down, and Walter stood up, and he goes, "Guys, I never thought I'd be here." He was in his 11th year, and he said, I own every record known to mankind, but that doesn't matter. To be able to say, I'm a champion, that means the world to me. And all I want you to know is you guys will always be my heroes for helping me get here. And I mean, we were ready to run out the door and put the suit on and go out and kick ass then. But I really think that, in the years after that I think Walter may have gotten a little embarrassed that it was kind of overblown. But, yeah, it was a mistake. But, boy, Ditka, he really felt, terrible about it. And we all kind of hate that it kind of went down that way.
Dan, it's funny. Sometimes I have a hard time naming the players on the Niners, and I can name almost everybody on the 85 Bears defense. Seriously. I mean, it was Dent, it was McMichael, it was yourself, it was the Fridge, there was Wilbur, Mama's Boy, Otis Wilson, Mike Singletary, Fensick, Sean Gale. We could go right on down. Doug Plank. Who was the leader outside of Buddy? Among the players on that defense, where you might have been the veteran guy. McMichael was crazy. What was that? What was that room like? Tim Ryan, who's the Niners color analyst, was a young player on some of those late '80s Bears teams, and he talks very fondly about some of those D-line meeting rooms. Who was the leader in that room?
Yeah, T. Ryan was with us. I played through the 1990 years, and I think he was with us the last couple of years. Great guy. Mike Singletary was kind of the heartbeat of the defense. He was the middle linebacker. He made the calls. He made the adjustments. And rightfully so, he's been given an awful lot of credit. But, guys, when we lined up in that Super Bowl, 9 of the 11 on defense had made a Pro Bowl.
Wow.
It was incomprehensible how many good players we had. And then on the offensive side, we had a terrific offensive line. Of course, Walter Payton. It was a tremendous football team from top to bottom. But if you want to say, okay, who was the leader? Well, for the entire team, it was Walter Payton. And he would do it by getting there at 5 a.m., and he would stay until 7 at night, whether it's getting treatment or training. You'll go in the training room and going in the weight room and working out, watching film. I mean, it was a great group. And, the guys making all this money today, people ask me, man, you'd be worth $25 million a year if you played now. And I said, yeah, but you know what, quite honestly, if the Bears would have known, I would have played for nothing. It was that much fun.
I believe it.
Thank you so much, Dan. We would wish you good luck this weekend, but you know how that is. We're rooting for the Niners. But thank you so much for sharing your memories, and we'll talk to you soon.
Guys, I'm predicting a score, the same score than when the Niners came in November of 1988. We won 10-9.
I remember that one.